Hello, everybody. Welcome to the When I Work live Q&A webinar. We are going to wait a couple of minutes, probably just 1 or 2 minutes, to let everyone join and get settled in before we get started with our content today. So hang tight and we will be getting started here in about 1 or 2 minutes. While we wait, feel free to use the chat icon. You can chat in and just chat with us. You can let us know where you're joining us from and what kind of work you're scheduling and time tracking for. It's always really interesting for us to get to know you all a bit better before we get started. Awesome. Welcome, Rhonda from Oklahoma. We always get a ton of different users on our webinars and using When I Work as a whole. We schedule for users across the United States, Canada, and the rest of the world as well. So welcome to everyone. And When I Work also schedules for all different types of companies. So not just one type of company, not just one type of use case. We're really great at all different types of use cases, whether you are retail, company, coffee shop, staffing, healthcare, vet business, construction. We've really seen it all. Thank you everyone for chatting in. Welcome Pam from Indiana, Elizabeth from Arizona, Daryl from Minnesota. When I Work is actually located in Minnesota, founded in Minnesota. Welcome Stacy from New Jersey at the William Heritage Winery. Scheduling for 2 teams at 2 locations. We're great at scheduling at different locations, different remote job sites, and I have worked with a couple of wineries before, so welcome Stacy. And welcome Scott from Bloomington, Minnesota, golf course manager, 12 staff. Awesome. When I Work also is great at handling smaller staff, so 5, 10, 12, 20 users, and also larger users, 100 plus, 1,000. David from Israel. Welcome, Susan from Yale Hospital in Connecticut. We do schedule for quite a few larger hospitals and we have some good setup use cases. If you are, whether you're looking to schedule a smaller department or a larger whole hospital with smaller departments as well. And welcome Hubert from London. So we've got everyone from all over. So thanks everyone for chatting in while we waited. Looks like our attendees have leveled off for the most part, so I want to make sure we go ahead and get started now. So I want to welcome everyone again to the live Q&A. We're so happy to have you all join and we're excited for you to get started with When I Work. My name is Marie and I am joined by Tiffany on this webinar. We're part of the customer onboarding team here at When I Work, and our mission is to help new users transition to When I Work as smoothly as possible. So during the next 30-ish minutes, we're going to be answering your When I Work questions. We're going to show you some ways that you can schedule for your team, track time, communicate, but the content of the webinar is going to be directed by the questions that you all ask today. So the questions are going to be flowing in and we're going to get to as many as we can. If your question doesn't get answered or you come up with a new question, you can always contact us after for some one-on-one help, and we will give you a whole packet on resources, ways to get in contact with us, and ways to get started with When I Work at the end. So stick around if you are interested in that kind of resource packet. If you're totally new to When I Work and just checking out your new account and our plans, we're going to go over all of those subscription options at the end. So stick around if you're interested in that at all. And if you're joining us to ask questions on your existing When I Work accounts, you're welcome to ask questions here today as well. So the way that this webinar works is you can submit your questions into the Q&A button. We'll be turning off the chat and turning on the Q&A. So place all your questions in there. You can place them in there now or anytime during the webinar. Tiffany's going to go through all those questions and try to ask them all out loud. She might rearrange them based on where we are in the tool. And she also might type some questions back to you if we're not able to get to all of those questions live, but we will try to get to everyone's questions. So with that, I'm going to share my screen over to my When I Work account so I can give you a quick tour before we get started with questions. All right, so right now I am just in my When I Work account. I'm logged in as an admin. The admin is just essentially the user that has the most access level in your account, generally the person who started the account. The top menu bar here is the main navigational center for When I Work. The tabs here, I'm in the scheduler. This is where you can create your schedule for your team, publish out and notify your employees when they're supposed to work, creating your schedule essentially. This tab here is our attendance tool. It's an optional add-on to your scheduler. This is where you can track your employees' time, check their timesheets, even clock in, and where you can lock your device as a terminal. This work chat tab, this is your in-app messaging system, really meant to boost that communication with your team. This can be turned on and off. And over here on the right-hand side of the top menu bar, you have more of your settings. The gear icon is going to include all of the settings for the different areas of your account. Your integrations landing page. So this is where you can create the connection between When I Work and one of our select payroll partners. And our account and billing page. This is where you can upgrade your account. This is the workplace menu. It's one of the most important menus in When I Work. This is where you can add in all the building blocks or foundations of your When I Work account. So things like your employees, the different positions that they work, schedules within your account, job sites. It's where you can create your shift templates as well. So you'll use all of these tools to create the shifts within your account. So this is really important. And then last but not least, you have your request icon or your tray icon. This is where you can manage all of the requests that come to you in When I Work from your employees. So things like open shift requests, so employees requesting to pick up open shifts, shift coverage requests, so employees requesting to swap and drop shifts if manager approval is turned on, and then time off requests. This is where you can respond to your employees wanting time off. And up top here, this is where you can actually request time off for yourself or for your employees. If you are using this tool and requesting time off for employees, that is automatically approved. So keep that in mind. So now I'm just going to start here in the scheduler and we can get started with questions.
Very convenient on our scheduler. How do I create a shift is our first awesome question.
That's a great question. Great for our first question here. So I'll go over how to simply make a shift, and then I'm going to go over a couple of tricks that will help you schedule a little bit faster in When I Work. So right now I am in my scheduler here and I am just in week view and I am viewing my schedule by my employees here under my view options. There's a couple other schedule options that you can use. That would be position view. So you can see all of the different positions in your account and then the shifts that you have for those positions on those specific days. That's really helpful to see coverage. By position. And then we also have a coverage view where you can see a more chronological order of your schedule. This is, again, really helpful for seeing coverage, making sure all the shifts are covered, all the hours in your day are covered by an employee. Generally, a lot of people like to schedule in the employee view. And then up here, we have a couple of time-based views. So day view, if you want to see all the hours of just one day, week view, or you can see 2 weeks at a time, or even a calendar view if you want to get a more high level idea of what your month looks like. So just back in week view here, you can create a shift by hovering into a cell that corresponds with a day and an employee. I'm going to click right in that cell. All of the pre-made shift templates for your team will show up. Only shift templates that this specific employee is qualified for by things like their positions and tags will show up. So from there, you can either click a shift template to quickly schedule that in, or just like before, clicking into the cell, you can create a custom shift. So the anatomy of a shift in When I Work, really important. The thing that you need to enter is the start and stop time. So time when the shift begins and ends. And then a really important part of the When I Work shift is the position as well. So you'll want to let your employee know what they're actually doing on their shift. And there's a couple of other things that you can add in. So maybe an unpaid break or a remote job site where this shift takes place. Things like tags, so sub qualifications that your employees need for this shift, like maybe CPR certified or over 18, things like that. And then you can add a task list or even shift notes. From there, you'll want to click save and it will show up in your schedule just like this. So once you've created some shifts in your account, you can easily do some tricks to help it go faster. You can copy a shift from one cell to another by clicking down on the shift and just dragging and dropping into the other cells. So you can see I really easily and quickly scheduled or, duplicated this shift into other days for Joey here. You can also drag and drop your shifts if you want to add it to a different employee. Simply drag and drop. If you see a thumbs up icon, that means that the employee is qualified to take that shift. If you see a thumbs down icon, I don't know if I have any employees that aren't qualified for this position. If you see a thumbs down icon, that means your employee isn't qualified for that shift. So it's really helping you guide your scheduling as you go so you don't make any mistakes. It's really helpful. And then I will just kind of talk about 2 or so more cool tools that you can use. The first one is, we already talked about it. It's called the Shift Template tool. You'll be creating those within your workplace menu, clicking into Shift Templates. And this is where you can create your shift templates or those shifts that you know you need to use more than once. So you don't have to create them from scratch each time. Really helpful. And then the last tool that I will show you all today is going to be this wrench icon. This is where you can do things like copying the previous week into the week that you're in, or saving the schedule on your screen as a or as a schedule template. So you can essentially snapshot what you're seeing on your screen, and then in any other week, you can use that same wrench icon and load in that template. And this is really helpful if you are creating schedules that you need often, or things like rotating schedules, things like that.
Awesome. Our next question kind of ties into it, and I think it's great, and it's from Duty. It's about creating shifts for employees in different time zones.
Great question. So we have made a couple of tools that help you create shifts for employees in different time zones, whether all of your employees are in different time zones, maybe you're in a different time zone from your employees, or if your company is in a different time zone than your employees and you are. There's all different types of, setup options and use cases that we've seen. So I won't go into every different use case and how you might set that up. So before I go into the settings that you can change, I want to quickly direct your attention to our help center. If you type in something like time zones, or custom time zone, any keyword like that, we have a whole help article that goes through all of the different scenarios that we've seen before and how you might want to set that up for your team. And it all depends on what time zone you want your employees to view their shifts in, what time zone you want to view their shifts in, things like that. And that might depend, really depending on what your work is. So I would really recommend taking a look at that article before you change any settings. And then a quick disclaimer before you change any settings. You'll want to change your settings and make sure that your settings are set up before you create any shifts, because your shifts won't change as if you've scheduled out your schedule before you change your settings, because When I Work likes to keep things the way that it was before any settings were changed. That's really helpful, for employees needing to know what's going on. So if you have any time zone issues, make sure that you change your time zone settings before you create your shifts. Just wanted to throw that out there. It'll be really helpful in the future. So the different places that you can change your time zone in When I Work. So the first place would be having the time zone set for your account as a whole. And you would do that in your general settings. So hovering over the gear icon, click into general settings, and then here, make sure that you have the correct time zone in this section. Once you do, make sure you hit save. And again, this is your app settings, so it is going to be the time zone for your entire account, and your employees will have this time zone by default. You can also change your own profile time zone. You can do this in the employee list or within your own profile. So when you're setting up your own profile, make sure the time zone here is correct and always click save. And then hovering over the workplace menu into your employee list. This is where you add your employees in When I Work. You can also create custom time zones for each employee if they don't have the same time zone as your general settings. You can do this by editing your employee, going to advanced details, and using a custom time zone for that employee. So you can essentially have one time zone for your entire team. You can have one time zone for your entire team and just change your own time zone, or you can have your time zone different from all different employees and all different employees having different time zones. Sorry if that was a lot of information, but there are a lot of different setups and use cases when it does come to time zone. So again, make sure all of your settings are set, whether it's in your general settings, your personal settings, and your employee profiles, and check out that help article for all the different types of use cases we have.
And Marie and I are very experienced in helping with time zones. So if you've got extra questions or just need a little help, please reach out to us. We want to make sure that this is easy and that you're all set with your different time zones.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question comes from Maria. Can you please show us how to schedule for multiple locations?
Great question. There are two ways in When I Work that you can schedule for multiple locations, and you can use whichever one you want, but there are general use cases for both of these methods. So I'll go over both and then share the different use cases. So the first way that you can designate different locations within the When I Work app is actually creating multiple schedules. So each schedule can be for the other location in your account. So you can create all the different schedules. And when I say create the different schedules, it's creating a whole new schedule, not just creating new shifts. So to create a new schedule, you'll be hovering into the workplace icon, clicking into schedules. And here's where you can add any schedule into your account. Right now, I just have two schedules in my account. So back in my scheduler, I can hop back and forth between the different schedules in my account. So it's two totally separate schedules. In my employee list here, this is where I can designate which schedules my employees show up on. So Monica here is only going to show up on the Central Perk schedule. And then everyone else, except for Chandler and Joey, everyone else is going to show up on all of the schedules. So you have three people showing up on the Central Perk schedule only. Back in the scheduler, again, you can hop back and forth between all those different schedules. You can see Ross, Rachel, and Phoebe are added to both schedules. And if they are added to both schedules, you can always see if your employee is scheduled at a shift at the other location, so you don't double book them. So multiple schedules in When I Work is a great use case if you have, I always think of a limited number of locations. So maybe you have 3 coffee shops or 2 retail locations, or if you have a larger company, maybe a hospital, and you want to split up your larger location into departments or teams. That's a great use case for the multiple schedule tool. The other way that you can split your team up by locations or assign locations to your employees is the job site tool. The job site tool is essentially a tag or an assignment that you can add on to a shift so your employee knows where to go for that specific individual shift. You can create your job sites by hovering over that same workplace menu, clicking into job sites, and adding a job site. So I've created all my job sites here. You can see a couple of use cases for the job site tool, maybe clients, remote locations, different projects, or maybe you're even adding equipment onto a shift. I've seen a lot of trucking companies adding on which truck is for which shift. Back in the scheduler, you can add a job site onto one specific shift. So you can see this shift here is a 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. barista shift at location A. So by opening up this shift, you can just add the job site right in here. So this is at location A, This shift, on the other hand, is at location B. So you'll just be using one schedule, but using the job site tool to indicate the location of specific shifts. And your employees on their end will always be able to see where their shift is located when they open up their app or open up their computer profile and they see their shifts. They'll see whether it's on a specific schedule or added to a job site. So they always know where to go. And then the last thing I'll mention about job sites is you can also use the filter tool for the schedule. If you have a ton of job sites, say you're a construction company and you have 15 different job sites going at once and your employees are going to different job sites every day, you can always filter out your schedule just to see one job site at a time or to see shifts that are not at a job site. So this is really helpful, making sure that you maintain good coverage at all of those job sites. Job sites is great for, like I already mentioned, whether maybe you're a construction company with a ton of job sites or a staffing company with a lot of different locations that your employees are deployed to, cleaning companies, security, lots of client-based work, things like that.
Great. Our next question is, can I input availability for my employees? And how do I create a shift quickly around those times?
Great question. We do have an availability tool where your employees can enter times that they prefer to work and prefer not to work. Your employees can add it on their end, or you can add the availability for them if you would prefer that. So your employees can add availability into their system by hovering over their name or on their app and clicking into My Availability. And you can enter availability for your team by hovering into this little down arrow by the employee's name and clicking Edit Their Availability. So if you want to edit your employee's availability, it'll look the same as if they are editing their availability. You'll see a calendar with all the days, and you can click to add a preference. You can choose I'm unavailable to work or I prefer to work, and you can choose all day or a specific time within that day. And then a great tool for this is the repeating tool. A lot of times when employees are inputting availability, it's for those part-time employees who always are going to have something at a specific time of day. Maybe it's a student who is always going to be in class at certain times in the day, or a parent that always needs to pick their kid up from daycare, something like that. A lot of times preferences repeat, so this is really helpful here. Once they've input all this information, you can just click Save. And then back in the scheduler, you can see and interpret all of the time off within the actual, or all of the availability within the actual scheduler. So if you see a green tab, that indicates a preference. And if you see a gray tab, that indicates an unavailability preference. So you can easily create shifts around all of this preferred availability. So if you have a preference here, you click into the shift, you can see that their preferred time is from 9 to 5. All of these shift templates here actually are within the okay limit for your employees. This is really helpful. If you have other shift templates that don't fit in that, they'll show under the less preferred section. So you always know if you see the little thumbs up that it is a preferred shift. You can also click the 9 to 5 button at the top and it will create a shift within their preference for them. So that's always really helpful if you want to create shifts fast within your employees' preferences. And then if you see a gray icon here, that means your employee is unavailable or prefers not to work. And this is a preference, not a request. So you can always, this is just to help you guide your scheduling. So if you click into the cell there, you can see that the shift templates that conflict with the preference are going to be grayed out. If there was any templates that were more suited for that preference, it would show up not grayed out, so you could click that one instead. And then just a tip when you are scheduling around employees' preferences, this is just meant to help you, help you guide your scheduling. If you do really need to, schedule an employee that on a time that conflicts with their availability, you can. So you can do that just like that. It'll tell you with that red icon that it's conflicting, but you can do it. It's not like a time off preference or time off request where you can't schedule a shift for the employee. So you can, but it will let you know which shifts conflict, and that will just really help you guide that scheduling.
Awesome. Our next question is, how can my employees clock in?
Good question. I really like talking about the time and attendance tool. It's a really great add-on and addition to our scheduler. So by default, everyone in the account will have the scheduler. And if you want to add on the time and attendance tool, you can. So when you have the time and attendance tool, you can choose mix and match from 3 different ways that your employees clock in and out in When I Work. So the first way for your employees to clock in and out, actually first I'll go to my settings to show. So the first way that your employees can clock in and out in When I Work is clocking in with their personal computer. If this is turned on, your employees will be able to log into their When I Work accounts, and they will be able to hover over attendance and click clock in, and they will do the same to clock out. This is really great and helpful if you have office employees where everyone has their own, laptops or desktops, and they're all at their own desk, able to just log in and clock in and out. The second way that your employees can clock in and out is an on-site only option. This is the time clock terminal option. This is pretty close to a traditional time clock where your employees come into work, have the time clock there for them, and they type in a code and it will clock them in, and they do the same to clock out. So you can lock the terminal on a computer. You'll just hover over the attendance tab and click lock as terminal, and it will lock that one browser tab as a terminal. You'll leave that up. Your employees will come into the workplace and type in their codes, and it will clock them in, and they'll do the same to clock out. You can also lock a terminal on a mobile device. So it can be a tablet, an iPhone, another smartphone, an iPad, and you'll just want to make sure that you download the terminal app from the Google Play or App Store, and that will be your terminal, and it will lock the device, and they will clock in the same way. And then the third way, and probably most popular way for employees to clock in and out with When I Work, is having them clock in and out with the mobile app. So if this is turned on, your employees will see a big green button at the bottom of their mobile app that says clock in. And all they'll have to do is make sure they're logged in on that mobile app and click clock in. So it's a really great way for employees to just use their own device and be able to clock in and out using that. Less germs that way. Your employees are only using their own device, same with personal computer clock in. But not every workplace has a personal computer for everyone. And questions that always come up with the mobile clock in and the personal computer clock in is, can my employees clock in and out from anywhere, whether it's, from the bus, from their breakfast table, when they're running late? And the answer is not if you don't want them to. You can always restrict where your employees clock in and out using these little buttons here. So then they will be restricted to clocking in and out at a specific location that you choose. So that's really helpful if you're using that mobile clock in, so your employees aren't clocking in and out when they're not supposed to.
Awesome. Looks like we only have time for one more question. And that question is, how can I track what tasks my employees do during the day?
Great question. I love when we get questions about our task tool. It's kind of a tool that is really helpful if you want to make sure you know what's going on with your employees day to day, and maybe you're not always at the workplace, or maybe you're just not always there, kind of hovering over your employees, making sure everything gets done. So it can be really helpful to have a task tool and a task list that employees can interact with during the day, and you can check during the day to make sure everything is running smoothly at your workplace. So we have 2 different types of task lists that you can make for your employees. You'll hover over the workplace icon again, click into task lists. And we have two different types again, like I just said. We have team task lists and shift task lists. The team task list is a task list for the entire team for one day. And the shift task list is a task list for your employee on one shift. So you can create them from this same landing page, just hit create list and go through the steps here. Once you've created your task lists with all those tasks within them, back in the scheduler here, you can add a team, a team task list by clicking into the clipboard on a specific day. And then you can add in the list for that day. So right now I have a closing list. And this is a task list for anyone working that day. You can assign individual tasks to employees for that day. That's up to you. Your employees will see these tasks from their end and be able to toggle off those tasks when they complete them. So that is super helpful. You can go into this system after and check who completed the task and when they completed the task. So this is really great. And the same thing goes for the shift task list. You'll just add that on to a specific shift. So say this shift here, I'm opening it up and adding in a shift task list. So this task list is just for Monica for this 7 to 2 p.m. shift. She'll see all these tasks available for her on her end, whether it's on her phone or if she's logged into her computer, and she'll be able to toggle off those tasks as she completes them, and you can check them as you go too. So you know exactly what's going on at your workplace. And if if tasks aren't getting done, you can always, message your employee and see what's going on. And this is going to give you a great peace of mind, especially if you aren't always at the workplace. Super helpful. All right, so it looks like we're pretty much out of time, but I have a lot of great information for you all on my slides. So I'm going to share my screen over, and you can stick with us if you need any more information on our plans and our resource packet. So we have recently condensed our plans to make it really simple for you to figure out which plan, which add-ons you need, and which subscription is right for your business. So we have a small business scheduling or a small business plan and an enterprise plan. The small business plan is right for if you have 100 and under users, and the enterprise plan is the right fit for you if you have 100 and over users. So over 100 users, you'll want to be on the enterprise plan. It's just going to include things that are helpful for larger businesses, things like the access to our API key, global privacy, single sign-on, things like that. If you are a smaller business, 100 and under employees, you will probably be a great fit for our small business plan. The small business plan is going to include all of the tools that we talked about today. If you're on small business scheduling, you'll have all of the scheduling tools like scheduling shifts for your team, availability, communication like the work chat tool, multiple schedules, job sites, auto scheduling, tasks like we just talked about, things like that. And if you do need, we have the attendance add-on for you. So if you have any need for time tracking, so having your employees clock in and out, checking their timesheets, creating a payroll summary, integrations with our payroll processors, all of that, all of those tools are included on the attendance add-on. So if you do need attendance, it'll just be small business scheduling plus attendance, super easy. And a great bonus or perk, I always like to throw out, if you are bundling and adding together the scheduling and the attendance tool, you'll gain access to something called labor reports. And this is because we use data from the scheduler and from the attendance tool to create reports for you so you can understand what's going on at your workplace, what's going on with your employees. Things like attendance notice reports is one of those reports that we create. So which employees are clocking in early, late, from the wrong location, things like that. So helps you get a better understanding of what's going on with your employees, just for one example. And you can upgrade your When I Work account all from your own account. So you can log into your account on a computer, hover over the gear icon and click into account and billing. From there, you can click Upgrade My Account, and you'll be presented with the different options that we have. By default, scheduling will be turned on. If you need to add the time clock and attendance add-on, you can turn that on here. And then by default, we do monthly billing, no contract. But if you are loving When I Work and you are definitely wanting to stick with us, you can choose the annual billing plan. That is, you pay upfront for an entire year, but you get a 5% discount. So it's a really good money saving hack if you are loving When I Work. And you can always change to annual billing as you go. From there, you'll click Checkout to activate your account, and you'll choose how many users you need. We bill in group of 5. So you can choose, 5, 10, 15, 20 users. Once you figure out which user range you need to be in, you'll be clicking Purchase. So it'll mock up your price, and then you can add in your billing information and just purchase all on your own end. If you do have any questions as you get started, whether it's questions on if When I Work is right for you at all, if you need help setting up your account, if you encounter a snag along the way, or if you need to know which plan is right for you, you can always contact us for some one-on-one help. You can reach us from within your When I Work account. On the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a chat icon, and you can open that up and chat with us. You can also email us at gettingstarted@wheniwork.com, and that will connect you with us, and we'll get back to you there. We want to make sure that you have all your questions answered before you get started. So feel free and don't hesitate to contact us if you need it. We also have a lot of other helpful tools. Tiffany is throwing out a little resource guide that we've created in our chat. So take a look at that chat. We will leave it up for a little bit after this. There's a ton of different links. We have the link to our help center, which is all the articles that you'll ever need, answering your When I Work questions, setup questions, troubleshooting questions. So you can take a look at those if you need. And then a really important guide. We have a training guide. So it's manager training. I would recommend taking a look at that. It's videos, and it's going to help you get your account set up from A to Z. And there's also employee training in there. So you can send that to your employees as you get started and as you onboard everyone. It's really going to help everyone be on the same page as you get started, because we know having your employees on the same page as you start a new program is really, really important. And we really care about our employees here. So take a look at all of those resources. Those pre-recorded demos are really helpful as well. And of course, if you have any questions as you get started, do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you everyone for joining us on our Tuesday webinar. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week. Bye everyone.